All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go with game number 1 between Socke from Alternate Attacks and a good old softball from TT Apollo, the Taiwanese superstar. They're going to be faced off on NASL's dual site, and we have an excellent Terran vs. Protoss coming your way.
Absolutely. I do not know much about softball, though, so I'm interested to see what is going to, what his playstyle is. I don't really know much about him.
You know what? From last week, I saw his Terran vs. Zerg against Idra. It looked completely standard. He does try to abuse cutting as close to defending against Mutas as possible. Of course, this is a different matchup, but from that, what I get is he really, really wants to have a refined build. That means he has a lot of preparation. There's a lot of things that go into it. On top of that, he chose to do very macro-oriented styles against a player like Idra. Now, of course, I know he knows Idra because Sen and Softball talk all the time. And now he knows Idra's style. What I'm really interested to see is how he does against Socke, because will he go that macro style and just play that same way, or is he going to change it up? Are we going to see more innovative, maybe even more cheesy? Easy peasy, totally cheesy style.
Well, for the longest time, I thought Softball and Sin were the same person, because I would watch Sin stream and he'd be playing under the account Softball.
Yeah.
Or I'd hit Softball and Ladder and it was Sin. So it's like, for the longest time I thought they were the same, and then I just recently actually figured out that they're different people.
Jake, not all Asians are the same. It's alright though. I'm glad that all got cleared up. It's okay.
Well played,
I am
sir.
not Sen. It's okay. You know that though.
Well played. Greatorp, well played.
I'm just kidding, of course. But nevertheless, we do have very standard play coming out from Softball. He's playing absolutely standard. Getting that refiner on, it's very imperative that you do that, because you can't get a 1 Rax expand. We do see that this natural is super open. So getting something like just a 1 Rax gasless expand, I should say, is very damaging. You can't really put a bunker because you can be attacked from here. You could be attacked from here. It just gets so hard to defend.
Let's also not forget how Stalker could even just run behind and start hitting the mineral line as well. So
yeah, Blink Stalkers are very applicable in that case as well. So
that's true.
A lot of different things can affect you. Thankfully, we don't see that at all. Of course, back in Socke's base, we don't see a double gas coming. Normally, we would see that on 19, but 21 is still applicable. It's still that option to do that if he so chooses. He's gone ahead, gotten the first Zealot out. He's playing absolutely standard as well. We're not seeing any sort of deviations coming out of these players just yet.
Yeah, it does look pretty standard. It looks like, because we're not seeing a second gas from Socke, it looks like we are either going to have a 1-gate expand or a 4-gate. Those are the 2 builds that come to mind when seeing this.
Most likely a 1-gate expand. Yeah, we do see the Chrono Boost being allocated towards that gateway, so not rushing out that warp gate just tells us that he's probably not going something like 4-gate. Now this 1 probe is going to get in here. Oh my god, Softball wasn't able to kill that 1 probe. Kind of a blunder, because now the probe's getting in here, sees everything that's going on. This 1 probe, will he see the second barracks? Yes, he does. Now Socke knows exactly what's going on. He's not going to throw down that Nexus. I would probably assume, there he goes, taking that very late second assimilator. He'll probably throw down a couple more gateways. There you go. Oh my god, Socke, you're listening to me.
Yeah, I mean, even though, he did scout it out, Socke still didn't get to do what he wanted to do from the start. So it's still kind of like it evened out, per se, him even scouting it. Terran did not get to apply the pressure he probably wanted to apply because he did not expand now. But at the same time, Socke didn't get to do what he wanted to either. So we do see a factory actually going down. This is kind of strange.
Yeah, this is like back in the beta days when you're going 2 racks and you just go ahead, throw down that factory, throw down that starport, and you're absolutely fine. We do see stim being created as well. This could also be, don't forget, it could also be just a 2 racks siege tank. Really, really aggressive pressure. Now, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it can be very, very strong. When you get up those siege tank counts to 3 and 4 in this early game stage, plus the stim, you can have a very, very strong push.
Now, I want to ask you something, Andre. We see a lot of Terran players, especially nowadays, go for the stim before combat shield. But in my opinion, if you have this many Marines and you're staying where Marine is your main army composition, wouldn't combat shield be better?
You know, it's kind of interesting. I do agree with you, but if he's getting any bunkers, stim is definitely the better thing because basically you're negating combat shields every single time you put Marines in bunkers. That's the actual premise of it. But we don't see that at all. Instead, yeah, so what it comes down to, you're absolutely correct. I think combat shields is the safer way to go, especially if you're defending like this. And also, I was absolutely right with that.
Yeah, that was a great call. The 2-rack siege tank push, and you know, Socke is still just warping in units. He's actually chrono boosting all of his warp gates nonstop, and he's just warping in more and more Stalker and Sentry to apply pressure. But I don't know how smart this is. I feel like he is moving in here. Guardian Shield does go down, but that's a lot of Marines right there, and he does have a complete wall off. I feel like Socke isn't going to be able to do any damage in that scenario.
No, but what he is able to do, he loses, I think, 1 Zealot. Let's go ahead and say the units lost maybe a little bit more, but no, 1 Zealot I think he loses from that entire engagement, maybe a Sentry. But the big thing is that he's able to get up there. See, a Siege Tank. Marines, this is going to be almost like a 1-1-1. I have to be very, very careful with what I do.
Right, and we do see that in reaction to seeing all those Marines and siege tanks that Socke did throw down a robotics facility. Yep. So, you know, maybe he has an idea. Maybe he thinks he can get out of Colossus before the timing attack hits.
Yep, and very, very critically, actually, Softball runs into a supply cap. Kind of unfortunate, and now we can see he's starting to edge out that 1 Sentry thing that always works. Oh my goodness, he's actually going to go for it. And Softball is targeting down the sentries. Very, very clever. I'm stimming on the bottom of the ramp, and it looks like, these siege tanks are doing way too much damage. So many volleys were able to come off. That is not what he wants to happen. He killed a lot of Marines from that, but Marines come very, very quickly.
Yeah, Marines are very affordable to lose in this scenario compared to his sentries and all those units that he needed for this timing attack to really stop. And now we see that the starport is up, the medevac is on the way, and I feel like we're going to see him actually push out probably when that first medevac comes out. We do see a little poking going on here with the stalkers, trying to pick off a Marine. These Marines really want to get rid of that pylon so he doesn't have to worry about any more warp-ins.
Yep, and you know what? Those medevacs are so important because it gives him that ability to be able to go ahead and stim quite freely, knowing that, hey, I will get up all my my life back very, very quickly. Now we see his opponent Softball bearing down on Socke. Socke is just trying to kite as much as possible. This medevac hasn't joined up yet with this entire army, but he can get some pot shots and really kill an SCV here, an SCV there. He's just making as much of this space as he can. Does he have the means, though, to stop this? That's going to be the big question. There's a Colossus underway, but it's not even halfway done. This is really scary. And look at this, going to the left-hand side, trying to draw all the units over, but it's not going to work. Oh, my God, we might be seeing a sandwich coming in pretty soon.
Yeah, but, I mean, these tanks are in siege mode now, and he does have all these SCVs. Of course, the siege tank shots actually almost kill all the SCVs on that pylon as splash damage. He is pushing up here, but Socke really needs to get in a good position. The first Colossus does just come out, and this is what he needs. This Colossus needs to be controlled, though, and here comes the army from the back side, but I don't know. The Colossus is all by itself, and it does go down.
And is this going to be enough? It looks like there's just so many Marines. The siege tanks are still alive, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to stay alive. Socke GG's, and Softball is going to take game number 1. And that's going to do it for game number 1. So Softball taking the very quick win off of a 1-base timing. And, you know, I have never really seen that. Well, no, I have seen that before, but I haven't seen it in forever.
It's been a long time.
It's like the 1-1-1 reprisal is coming up. This was, of course, like a 3-1-1 almost because the reactor barracks. But you know what? It proved to be very, very strong. Marine tank, just going back to basics.
Yeah, it was just a more powerful. It hit later than a 1-1-1 would have. It hit later, but he also had a lot of more tech into it. You know, he had the stim, he had the combat shields. He still pulled the SCVs for the attack, and I just felt like, you know, he caught. Well, it really came down to Socke throwing away a lot of those key units he needed and trying to force field the ramp and pick off those Marines. He lost a lot of Sentry and Stalkers in that mix, and that just wasn't a good trade for him, and it kind of put him behind when it came to that final fight.
Yeah, and the final fight, he kind of mismarked that quite a bit. He threw away 3 Zealots and Colossus first, and then came in with the left-hand side attack. It was just poorly executed. Unfortunate for Socke, but you know what? Softball can't take it away from him. He played great, and he was able to take out a very, very fierce German Protoss. We're actually going to be moving over to the game number 2 of Socke versus Softball. Join us. More action is coming your way after this break.